just like that, we are live for another edition of Going the Distance. This week's brought to you by, as always, Going the Distance Live, my book, available on Amazon.com in Kindle and paperback copies. Pick yours up today while you still can. They're not going anywhere, but go get one. Read it. Give it a rating. Give it 1 star for all I care. Let me know what you think about it and your honest opinion. Creative, constructive feedback's always good. So anyways, if you hadn't gotten a copy of it, please do. I will actually be live and in person at some dates to be announced here in March, selling them, I guess, at some personal appearances in some various locations in North and South Carolina. So I'll look for those announcements coming soon. So I will have some of those books again with me for your consumption, and probably a few more of them up online if you're looking to give a gift or get yourself a signed copy. I'll have some more of those on my website once the order comes in. So, and also, as every week, the podcast is brought to you by the Hudgens Training Plan, available on www.brandonhudgens.com. If you're interested in upgrading your fitness regimen, your routine, and need some help, visit my website, give me a shout, shoot me an email. We can work something out. I'm here to help you reach your goals. So anyways, if I cough a lot during the podcast tonight or kind of go a lot, I'm sorry. I had my infusion today, so that always leaves a really weird feeling in the back of my throat. So there's nothing actually there. It just leaves this really like scratchy feeling for some reason. I don't know why it is. It's always like that. Maybe if any of the other vasculitis patients out there that have had Rituxan have experienced the same thing, maybe let me know in the comments section and we can compare tips. But it always leaves me like I feel like I kind of have a cold in the back of my throat, but I don't have one. What up, Corey Hinton? Long time no see, buddy. Anyways, so since we talked a week ago, a lot kind of has gone down. I ran my last indoor track race. I had some pretty lofty goals going in. As I discussed, I really wanted to run like 152 in the 800. It didn't happen. I ran really well though. Kind of really well. I raced, made a bold move, like a super fit Brandon would do in an 800, with about 200 meters to go, because I felt really good and went tearing down the back stretch and got into the lead and just lost it. Last 100 meters, I just didn't have quite enough in the tank. The race had gotten out a little slower than some of my other races the past couple of weeks. So the finishing time wasn't as fast. So it was kind of harder to run fast from that. But, I got trapped in a little bit of traffic and handled it all well and tried to make my big, bold move to the finish to pick up my first win of 2018. And I really thought I was going to do that. But I didn't. The wheels came off, and two college kids from Christopher, Newport News, Virginia, of all places, went speeding past me the last 50 meters on the home stretch. So it was a bit, it was fun to be sad about getting beat and not just excited to be racing again. So I smiled and laughed when I got done because it was so much fun racing again. And actually went and cooled down with the two guys that I raced with, and kind of learned a little bit about their stories and everything, and what brought them to the Christopher, Newport News, Virginia for college. And one of them had actually qualified for the Division III national championships with the time that he ran to beat me. So, he was obviously super excited when I made that big move, because it helped him get his qualifier. So I guess if nothing else, I helped somebody achieve one of their goals by the way I raced. In years past, I'd be pretty pissed about it, but it was exciting to kind of just get the taste of winning and victory again. I haven't run out in clean air, to use the old NASCAR analogy. My car ain't had clean air all year. I've been sucking tailpipes all year. So it was a lot of fun. I finished with a smile on my face, and then went and smashed some pizza, a couple of beers with the family afterwards, and have kind of kicked it and relaxed the first part of the week because we're taking a little break Today I got just my one little dose of Rituxan, which is the biological drug that they give us vasculitis patients, many of us vasculitis patients right now, to help calm down our immune system. And all my blood work looked really well from my doctor a week ago. So it's not like I don't think that they're going to think that I have to do any more than just this one infusion. For reference sake, my numbers and stuff were so bad last year that I had to get 4 of these at a time. So I get 1 a week for a month. So that really beat me down. But today I got mine, and my one, my pops, my dad, really actually came and hung out with me today, and took me to my appointment, and we got to hang out for most of the day. So that was pretty cool. So my parents have obviously, with me getting diagnosed young with this, have been pretty involved in a lot of my treatments and stuff. And when they can get the opportunity, sometimes they actually just kind of come. And I guess I could tell them no, but I'm not ever going to tell them no, especially when Dad and I went and smashed Waffle House afterwards. So, no, it was fun. So I was going to kind of like, a lot of times I get questions about like what these days are like for people and stuff. And, it's really weird because, like first time my appointment was like 8:30 this morning. So you got to get up early, and I actually had to drive about an hour to the place that was getting mine, because all the places nearby that were close were all their chairs were full at the centers. So I had to drive about an hour to Pittsboro, North Carolina, which is kind of outside of the Chapel Hill area. So kind of southeast of Chapel Hill, but it's still about an hour from here. So we were on the road bright and early this morning, and you show up, they sit you down in a chair, and they give you a bunch of what they call pre-meds, which are Tylenol, in this case Tylenol and Benadryl. And in the past, they've always just given me like 2 little Benadryl pills. Well, today they shot me up with Benadryl. I got a Benadryl mainlined, and boy, I have never felt so much like somebody just laid a blanket on my face. It was ridiculous. They, normally get the tablets, and you have to wait about 30 minutes before they can start the other medications, because they want to make sure those drugs, because they're just to help with your body having any sort of allergic reaction. Even though I've had it so many times now, and I'm fairly certain I'm not going to have an allergic reaction to it. That's better safe than sorry. So, Benadryl, most people take it obviously anytime they've had some sort of allergic reaction to something, whether it's something they eat or something they get stung by a bee or whatever. So it helps your body kind of not have that allergic reaction. So that's why they give it to you. And the nurse at the place today said, yeah, we're going to start your IV, give you your IV Benadryl. And I was like, what? Are you serious right now? And so they pumped it. Normally it takes about 30 minutes for that stuff to kick in. But within about 5 minutes, man, it was just like somebody laid a blanket on my face. I couldn't even stay awake. Normally you kind of do, at least for me, I do this weird kind of like in and out thing, because they give you that, and then they give you something called Solumedrol, which is another drug to kind of help with it. And it kind of has a stimulating effect. So your body is kind of doing this weird back and forth thing. So it's kind of like stimulated, but you're also getting depressant. So it's kind of like you're in and out of sleep, but you don't really know what's going on. But today they were waking, they have to wake you up every 30 minutes, check your vitals, make sure you're still alive, or make sure you're not starting to spike a fever, because generally a fever is going to be a sign that you're starting to have an allergic reaction to it. So every 30 minutes she would like come over and tap me and put a blood pressure cuff on my arm and take my temperature, and then I was right back out. So normally I was actually planning on to start to finish tonight's podcast stuff today, but I had to wait till afterwards, actually, because I was just out. So and your body does this really weird thing. It's kind of like it knows it just got pumped full of a lot of really weird stuff, so it doesn't really, it's just weird. You feel off, you feel behind yourself, kind of like when you get sick. So, when you've got that feeling like you're kind of standing behind yourself, and that's just kind of how you feel for most of the day. Your balance and coordination is a little off. So, yeah, you're just a little weird. And then, I've kind of just been I don't want to say lazy, because lazy feels like there's not an excuse for what I'm doing, but it's best to rest. It's best to rest and drink a lot of water, which is why I'm drinking a lot of Heritage Seltzer water. So, because that's become my new addiction, because I'm cheap and can't afford LaCroix. So we stick with Harris Teeter Seltzer. Harris Teeter Seltzer, if you want to sponsor the podcast, we'll help get your amazing product out there in the hands of our customers and loyal Going the Distance listeners and followers. So yeah, Jefferson, I see. Yeah, it's really like you feel like you're behind yourself. So that's kind of how I spend most of the day. And you just, honestly, the only thing, the best thing the doctors say and nurses and everything is, just sleep, man, just sleep. So I've been sleeping, and I will probably be up really late tonight because I've slept about 3 hours at the doctor and then another 2-hour nap. So I've had about 5 hours of sleeping today on top of the 8 or so that I slept last night. So I'm probably going to be in a awesome sleep pattern the next couple of days, which is fantastic. But my break is over now, so we're back to running tomorrow. I went for a little jog yesterday just to enjoy the nice weather outside, but hadn't run since my race on Sunday, and my break for my legs is over tomorrow. I'm not obviously going to go out there and start ripping quarters or 200s or something, but we got to get the legs moving again because outdoor track's right around the corner. So luckily, my coach, James Snyder, gave me the day off today so that I didn't have to run today. But, tomorrow we're going to start moving the legs probably every other day and get back on it. We're working on finalizing my outdoor track schedule, which hopefully I can get to you in the next week or two, for the most part. So, but I was going to talk a little just a bit about kind of like the whole process of this indoor season. And I kind of hit on it a little bit last week with the courage thing, and, kind of now, especially having had several days to kind of reflect back on the season and kind of what my goals are as an athlete going forward, and everything that's happened really recently, because my perspective as an athlete's changing. And I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or experiencing more things, or really just getting fed up with stuff. But, you start seeing things and reading things that a lot of the ideals that you've chased and experiencing them, and it changes what you think about stuff. And there was a big article this week about kind of a lot of the greed in two of the institutions that I've been a part of, which is the NCAA and the Olympic movement. Obviously I'm not an Olympic athlete. I have not qualified for the Olympics, but obviously that was the goal in 2016, and the goal since I was about 13 years old, and has been primarily the goal going forward for 2020, is qualifying for the Olympic team. So it's something that I'm underneath that umbrella, and you see a lot of the corruption and stuff, and like was kind of hinted at when I did that podcast with the Dr. Mark Nagel with at UNC. Or USC, excuse me. God, real Carolina fans are going to get mad at me. Of the University of South Carolina, he, they like to say that there's just not a lot of money in Olympic sports, but then you look at what a lot of these people are making that aren't the athletes, and the contracts that they're signing, and there's a lot of money somewhere. And none of the athletes are getting it. It's not just track and field athletes. Winter athletes are the same way, and just as bad a situation. So, oftentimes most of them, live very similar lifestyles to the rest of to track and field athletes, living below the poverty line. So, and then you look at a lot of the corruption and stuff that's gone on at the NCAA level as well. And it's like, these are two huge institutions that, I've been a part of. I was part of the collegiate system actually for 6 years, 2 years longer than most people. And, was around it for years afterwards. I've worked college camps for years. I've been a part of both of the programs that I came through, as far as going back and seeing people or going to practice or going to meets and stuff. And so like, I've been a part of that system too a lot. And you're seeing a lot of the advantages that these corporations are taking of the athletes. And it really makes you wonder if it's not that I'm saying it's not worth me running still, but it makes you wonder if what the dream that we're all chasing might just not really be the most ideal thing to do, and the most ideal thing to chase. And the idea of one race or two races every 4 years, if you're lucky. So like, the Olympic trials and the Olympics basically being your two most important races once every 4 years. And having that define a career, I used to be all about that mindset. And I just wonder now a lot if that's really the right attitude and the right thing to, we've got, the Olympic model, which is kind of proven to be kind of a joke. The same thing with the amateurism model in NCAA athletics. And they're not really what I would call the most morally sound organizations that are taking extreme advantage of the people that are making them their large sums of money. It's criminal. I think it's definitely criminal. And I think a lot of the NCAA, the NCAA is obviously in a lot of hot water right now. If anybody's been following those recent developments, and same thing with the IOC and stuff is coming under a lot of scrutiny with the lack of coverage that the athletes are getting for the amount of money that's being spent on the Olympics. When you look at what a host country will spend, the billions of dollars of that, and then the billions of dollars in ad revenue during that. And the majority of the athletes are living below the poverty line. It's not just a track and field thing. It's an entire Olympic sport model. And the only sports that really seem to be outside of that norm are the sports that have their own structures, like basketball or hockey or something, just to name a winter and a summer sport off the top of my head, or cycling or tennis, those types of things that have their own, like, there's plenty of great basketball players that have had phenomenal careers that don't have an Olympic gold medal. So I think that's something that track and field needs to look at moving towards. I think that's something that is going to be a mission of mine. It's just like, and maybe I'm obviously not going to be a martyr, because people have to care for you to be a martyr. You have to be at the top to be a martyr. But it's something that I was even talking about with a lawyer friend of mine recently, and about how you just really, are these ideals that we really have been fed to believe really even true, when you look at not just the money corruption, but the corruption that they're hiding. They were hiding the fact that they knew about Russia doping for 4 years, like the state-sponsored doping for 4 years before they ever did about it. And they know about the stuff going on in China now, and they're not doing anything about it. So it's like, if we're really pissing into the wind here, why are we doing it? So it's kind of really made me rethink a lot of what I'm doing as an athlete, and my goals potentially going forward. And I don't know that they'll change. Maybe my goals change by me, just being a bigger whistleblower for these things, or maybe it is, we go into the 2020 Olympic trials as a favorite to make the team, and then you don't run, to boycott it, because we don't need just people that at the bottom screaming about it. We need important people screaming about it until there's real change. So, because you're probably not going to get a mass walkout of all the athletes. It's just, they hold your career in your hands and everything that you've been led to believe since the time you were a child. So it's a tough situation to be in, and it's been really weird, honestly, the last couple of weeks, as this kind of thought kind of settles into my brain here. But with that said, this started really kind of metastasizing itself in my head, like a couple of weeks ago, just thinking about everything that I've been through and the goals that I still have, and the goals that I know that I can still accomplish over the next couple of years. And it's like, the journey's obviously going to be worth it regardless of what happens, but it's like, should that even be defined by something that is seemingly corrupt as an Olympic medal? Is being part of that. I mean, and I don't know the answer to that. I'm not saying yes and I'm not saying no. So it's just, you know, if I get out there and I inspire a lot of people and I push my body beyond where I thought that it could go physically, and reach those times that I've always dreamed about, and win some of the races that I've always thought about. I think that's a much better and purer way to look at your sport. Because I'm not saying that like we all need participation trophies here. I'm not saying that we need to nerf the world and I need to be getting medals for my last place finish at the Melrose Games. No, what I'm saying is being something bigger than one race every 4 years. So if you can start a movement or have a lasting impact on people and what they think about your sport or what they draw inspiration from, I think that's a way bigger deal than a medal. Affecting real change in the world while you're doing it. It's not like, oh, well, I'm going to go get my medal and then I'm going to go do humanitarian work and change the world that way. It's like, no, it's like, I want to have a genuine impact on the communities that I'm a part of. And those communities are athletes and vasculitis patients, and encouraging everybody to chase their dreams, like, and doing whatever it takes. So, and for me right now, that's been like spending some time at the bottom, spending time, getting my head bashed in and working really hard. And, some of you may have, some of you may not have, I finally dusted off the keyboard and wrote another blog 2 nights ago, kind of just outlining some of the stuff that I'd gone through and some of the thought processes that I had been through over the last several months with, I really did. I thought when I started back in November that I was like, I can pound my body into sub 4 minute shape. And, now I learned why I didn't. I am very talented, obviously. I'm aware of that. And I've worked really hard to get into that position. But when you find out that your blood value, your hematocrit, which is your red cells, is 39, that is just nobody's ever going to run a sub 4 minute mile with 39 hematocrit. So, it's just going to take longer for those values to get back up than I thought, because I'm doing it the legal way, fortunately or unfortunately. I'm not loading up with EPO or blood bags. Although the lady beside me at the infusion center today was getting blood bags, and I tried to get her to trade, and she didn't think it was very funny. So like those numbers are going to still be pretty low. But hopefully over the next 4 or 5 months, I can continue to get those back up and being able to do longer training, because, I really underestimated the toll that taking 11 months off or 12 months off of hard running took on my body. And I had lofty goals. I wanted to get back in low 4 minute shape and wanted to knock on that door and be ready to go for outdoor. But the reality is I didn't. But I did everything I could. I mean, I checked every box off over the last 4 months or 3 months that I could possibly physically do. We didn't really miss any workouts. We didn't really miss any runs. Some things obviously had to get adjusted sometimes for weather or how I was feeling or something, but, there was never any large chunks of missed time. But, it was just, I did everything that I could as from an athletic standpoint, to be in position to do those things. And it just wasn't in the cards. But, right now I just got my top off today, and, I'm already way ahead of where I was when I started, after my last infusion 6 months ago. So, we're not starting from square one now, which is great. So that's only going to bode well. And, I made a lot of strides at the end of January and into February, and with how workouts were going and how my body was feeling. And we're only going to continue to feel more and more that way. So I'm really, really excited about it. I'm really excited to get back to a lot of the really long, hard work that got me to the level that I got to in 2016. And, because I haven't seen anything in the last couple of months in track and field really that has been overly inspiring to watch. And I want to change that. I want to bash some people's skulls in and make it wildly entertaining for everybody. So, it's, to have failed twice at my favorite distance, which is the mile, it was humbling, very humbling. And you kind of have to, as much as you have to have confidence going into it, it can blow up your ego, which is a good thing, because it reminds you that what you do is really difficult. It's not, we put our bodies through, extreme torture on a weekly basis to get really good at one thing, which is running in a circle really fast. And it's not just running. Running fast is really is a skill. And I think a lot of people kind of forget that, because it is running, and for the most part, as long as there's not something severely wrong with you, everybody can kind of run. But running fast is just as much as a skill as hitting a golf ball or shooting a basketball or anything else. There's certain people that are really good at it, and it takes a certain mindset and a certain level of commitment and a certain number of hours of work to get that done. And that's really all that was missing this year, was just the hours. And I'm just really excited about really just working really hard and putting my teeth back to the grindstone, because that's what made me good. I made the Olympic trials working 40 hours a week and running 85 to 90 miles a week on a very consistent basis. And I got really good at those two things. And I'm looking forward to being able to put a lot more energy into my training now that it seems like we've got all the health stuff kind of squared away. And I kind of realized after today how I'm going to kind of probably feel after this and maybe one more. So, it's just, you just get back out there and work really hard. And I'm excited to work really hard. And that might sound weird, but it's because I know what that hard work will bring. It'll bring a body and a mind that aren't frustrated when you line it up against the best athletes in the world. And hopefully it will afford me the ability to hand some of the embarrassment to other people instead of me being the embarrassed one on the track. So, I was running times in the mile that I was basically capable of in high school, and I was not a high school superstar like a lot of these kids are nowadays. There's a lot of these kids that are running times close to what I have, a handful of them, anyways, that are like superstar athletes. So that wasn't me in high school. So the times that I was running wouldn't even net me like a top 50 time in the high school rankings. So I got a lot of work to do, but it's gonna be exciting. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited to see where these next couple of years take me, because before this year, I was really just there was really just the goal of the Olympic trials, and I couldn't really think of anything else outside of that world. It was kind of everything. Running the mindset is just getting your qualifying times and getting to the games. And I'm kind of just looking forward to just doing a lot of other stuff besides that. And I'm not saying that those stressors weren't fun and weren't the right thing and not what I wanted. I 100% want that. I mean, especially wanted it back then. But I'm looking forward to being able to do a lot of those things that I really, really love. And it's so freeing. And it's frustrating and nerve-wracking and tough, but I love it. I love the challenge. I feel alive when I'm doing it. I don't feel alive I actually, like I said earlier, that I went for a run yesterday just because it was nice outside, and I wanted to get outside. Also because I knew I was kind of just going to be laying around all day and be a lazy piece of shit, which I have the right to do. I had the right to eat Bojangles for breakfast and Waffle House for lunch and local pizza for dinner, because today that's just what I felt like. I was actually just joking earlier that probably what I ate today is going to make me feel worse than the drugs are. And some people eat like this every day. So I don't know how, if you eat like this, if I have a heart attack tonight, it's going to be because of what I ate today. But yeah, no, it's super. I done lost my train of thought now thinking about junk food, because I also kind of had heartburn right now, and I haven't had a heartburn in years. Bojangles, starting your morning off with Bojangles, God, that Cajun filet biscuit. So, yeah. So, oh yeah, and I had some cake today. So I've kind of had my cake needed to, but yeah. So I went out for a run yesterday. That's where I've been trying to figure out where I left this off at. So I went for a run yesterday, just kind of because I needed to, because I get bored. If I'm not chasing something, I get bored. So being idle, I'm really good at being lazy. When I'm not running, as in like I've run in the morning, I can lay around until I have to go run again or train hard again. So I'm really good at that. But if I don't have things going on, like last year when I was out, I was, I wasn't obviously as active as I am when I'm running or training, excuse me. But I was working on the book. So I had something to work on. I had something to do. And obviously that was incredibly fulfilling. And if any of y'all had the chance to pick that up, if you have or have not, here's a copy of it. It's available on Amazon.com, titled Going the Distance. The journey of a vasculitis patient on the road to Olympic glory, which right now might be so I just thought about this. I wrote a book with the title of Olympic Glory in it, and I might be wanting to blow that model up. How ironic. I guess we're going to have to redo the title of the book and come out with a second edition. If that happens, aren't we? That's going to be funny. So everybody's going to have to buy a second copy. Actually, we might have to go ahead and do that just so I can sell more books, right? Looks like my dad's on here. Dad popped on, wants to know why I didn't eat the soup instead of the pizza, because I'm a 31-year-old adult, and this 31-year-old adult wanted pizza. So he had his cake and his pizza and everything else today because he wanted to. So I'll save the soup for when it's good when it's good for me to eat that. Now I'll probably eat the soup tomorrow. But thank you, Mom, for sending me soup. Mom always coming through in the clutch with food. So I'm sorry, everybody, if you're listening to this, that you don't have my mom. Sorry. I'm just sorry, because she's kind of the best mom in the world, and it was voted on, and your votes didn't count because you're wrong, because my mom is the best mom. So, and I've got a lot of people, not just me and my brother and my sister, that will vouch for that. So, sorry, moms, if you're out there. Sorry, people and your moms, but my mom is just the best. So, anyways, back to kind of try to bring this back all around here and land this ship of out into outer space that I've now flown off at the mouth. As I look back over kind of everything that I've accomplished over the last couple of months as far as my running, and looking forward to the future of that Olympic model there that I apparently decided to write about in my book of chasing. It might be time to blow that up. It's just, if we don't have the power anymore, and we need to be putting ourselves in position of power. And maybe that's boycotting USATF events. Maybe that's boycotting the Olympics. Maybe that's, I don't know. I don't know what it is. These are just new thoughts to me right now. But it looks like I'm going to have to make a second edition of this book if that's the case. So, but yeah, it's entertaining to think about here. Becoming part of something that's, a little bit bigger than yourself. And who knows, maybe this will just be me pissing into the wind and yelling about stuff. But, there seems to be a lot more people that it's striking a nerve with. So it's not just me. And I know that. I know I'm crazy. And Lori, it says you've been impressed with my determination. Some days it feels like determination to really make a difference. Some days it feels like stupidity. So it's probably a worthwhile burden, but we won't know till the end. But I've been afforded a lot in life to chase my dreams, meaning that I came from the right situation with parents that have always encouraged me to do that. And they've not just encouraged me, they've encouraged my brother and my sister to do the same thing, encouraged us to take our own paths in life. And all they want for us is to be happy. And so I've never been forced by my parents to feel like I have to grow up sooner than I need to, or, do anything that, as long as I'm taking care of, like, they're, they're not paying all my bills, I'm not a trust fund baby. My dad's a high school teacher, and there's nothing wrong with being a trust fund baby. That came off the wrong way. No, well, what I'm saying is they've always encouraged us to chase our dreams and do whatever we have to do that. So they've always been there for us, support wise, if, encouraging us to do that. And that's all they've ever wanted in their entire lives, for us to be happy and chasing our dreams. So that's, phenomenal to have that, as your backdrop, because and I actually, not to bring up my book again, Going the Distance, but it's kind of what I talk about in the book. It's what kept me from that bottom rung of that depression ladder. Years ago, when I was struggling with it really bad and wondering if not, and it wasn't even about a continuing running thing. It was about was life still worth living for me, dealing with the health problems and stuff that I had and the fights that I had been through with it. Was it still worth it? And the things I talk about in that book are about that. They having a family that I care extremely deeply for, and it's not just my mom. Obviously my mom and dad, my brothers and sisters are severely important to me, but my girlfriends and my girlfriend and my best friends, those people are extremely important people for me, and I need to be here for them. So while that stuff was really, really difficult at times to deal with and handle, it kept me. A lot of times I use the scale for depression, and I think it's on a 1 to 60 scale, points, and 1 being a kid at Chuck E. Cheese, as far as 1 being the happiest you could possibly be, which is I can't really imagine anybody being happier than a kid being at Chuck E. Cheese. So we're gonna go with kid being at Chuck E. Cheese, number 1, and obviously suicide at 60. So it kept me from going to 59 or 60, where suicide becomes a real danger for you. I was lucky in life in that sense that I have that support network that wouldn't allow me to make those decisions. And I'm not saying that there's I'm not judging anybody for their thoughts about it or whether they should or shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that I had support that kept me from that ladder or from that bottom rung, and I just want more people to have that. And it's one of the things that I try to talk more about and how I got out of it. And it's not something that you just have to settle with for the rest of your life, of just being, all right, this is something that I'm just going to have to deal with these bad thoughts all the time. It's the control can be in your hands if you set yourself in the right position. So obviously medication's been one of those things that helped, and basically just doing enough things to lower your numbers on those ladders. Like a great instance I heard the other day was something like good sleep can move that needle 6 points. So doing things to and not just taking a pill and just thinking that 1 pill is going to make you happier, but taking active steps in your life to make yourself happier. And for me, that's been chasing these things that I love so dearly and afforded to it. And, I kind of alluded to it in the blog that I wrote last night. I'm willing to take these hits on the chin. I've been through a lot over the last 10 years of my life. And, I've been hit with some pretty freaking hard punches. And like old Rocky says, life ain't about who can hit the hardest, but it's about who can get hit and keep moving forward. So that was a terrible Rocky Balboa impersonation. Probably about the worst it will be on the internet. So maybe that'll go viral. But anyway, that's what it's like. And I can take these hits. I can take these these jabs and, take the anxiety that comes with living this sort of lifestyle right now. So I can do that. So I'm not, I can take it, so I'm going to do it. And that's exactly why I do it. And that's where my determination for it actually comes from is, it comes from that. It comes from being able to be afforded the ability to do it. And that's what that's why I'm doing it. And I'm doing it because I can do it. I'm doing it because not a lot of people get the opportunity to do it. So I want to drag some of you people with me. It was exciting to be back on the track this year and have these things kind of start to change my mindset on a lot of stuff. And it's going to be a lot of fun racing again this year. And hopefully not as, and it's stressful. And when I mean stressful, like, I don't mean it stress in a bad way. Like these are all stresses that I've brought upon myself, but stressful in the sense of stress for the wrong reason. Stress because you're placing too much importance on one single thing in your life. And like I've been through far too much to just let one single moment like that mean so much and not and something good not come out of it. So I had a bad race at the Olympic trials, and on the first and second days, I made some boneheaded mistakes tactically and how I handled the whole experience. And, it's only a failure if you don't learn something. I've been told that by numerous coaches in my life. Bad races and bad things in life or mistakes that you make they're only mistakes if you fail to learn something from them. And so I've taken that information from those races, and we're moving on with life. And I'm always gathering new data, always learning new things. And that's actually something I kind of wanted to kind of start doing. I wanted to kind of find a way and talking through some ideas with some people about kind of how to help make this conversation that we're all having a little more interactive here, is kind of try to issue like a challenge every week-ish kind of thing. I don't want to say ish, but like, it's not going to be like, I need everybody to go out and run 100 miles next week, or I need everybody to not eat any candy over the next week or any sugar. It's just going to be little things. And a lot of times it's probably going to be the same thing, because I think it's very, very valuable to learn something new all the time. One of my favorite things in life, like, I'm always reading stuff, whether it's new research that's coming out, whether it's stuff that's going on in the world with politics and the administration that's happening right now, or science stuff or space stuff or whatever. I'm always listening or learning about new things, and I've always really, really liked to learn. It's something that's so powerful. Learning. I've been surrounded by public educators my entire life. I've also been was in that field for a little while as too myself, and you see the power that learning can have on people, and it's something that I've always had. And I think the world, they always say you die when you stop learning, and I think they say that, and that is a cliche for a freaking reason, because it's right in front of us and it's dead obvious. And there's a lot of things that are coming up in the public conscious right now, and it's going to require a lot of us to learn about things that we maybe had either no opinion on, or thought we had an opinion on, or didn't understand. So my thing is just going to kind of challenge somebody or everybody, if you listen to this even over the next week or whenever you get around to it, if it's 400 years in the future and you're watching this on a laptop in your spaceship, and you're like, who was this weird dude sitting talking to his computer into a microphone? What were those barbarians doing back then? So, learn something new next week. Learn something new these weeks. Just learn. It's simple. It's not, find something new you learn, whether, and I'm not mean like learning that Kim Kardashian endorsed a new lip gloss. Although we all can be suckers for the tabloids at the grocery store line. I may or may not pick those up every time I'm there. Kind of embarrassed to admit that. But sometimes I'm just a sucker for them. So, but no, like, learn something new. I'm all the time bouncing around articles with several friends friends of mine. Like we're all the time just bouncing articles back and forth off of each other. And it doesn't have to, I'm not saying go read some research paper. Research is boring to read. And believe me, I know I wrote one. It's just this boring stuff. And, you know, I just encourage everybody to learn something new this week. It would be great if that thing is something that kind of changes your idea about a topic. I learn finding new stuff about nutrition all the time. It's going to be one of those things that I continue to love to learn about that I don't have a background about. I've had to learn a lot about like entrepreneurship and business and marketing because I decided to self-publish a book at 30 years old after having failed English class in high school. So I don't know anything. There you go. Somebody, Mary Frances, learned last week, learned how to enamel on steel. I don't even know what that means. So sorry, I probably should catch up on some of these comments here instead of just like blasting through stuff. What's up, Rube? If you're still here, what up, man? Corey Hinton, thanks for the shout out, man. Love. Thank you for loving what we do, man. Thanks for hanging around since I've known Corey since high school. Probably haven't seen each other in years, but it's always nice to see some old high school friends and stuff after so long. So anyways, Abby, glad to see you are on the bike busting it, girl. Abby is furious, absolutely furious exerciser. So she's got the Big Sur Marathon to get ready for here in about 8 weeks. If my brain's working correctly right now, which it may not be, 8.5 weeks. Look at that. Boom. I bet I'm right. Because I'm never wrong. Ask my girlfriend. Ask my mom. Ask my mom. My mom really knows that I'm never wrong. Anyway, so yeah, just learn, you know, I'm going to kind of start trying to leave everybody with a challenge for the week. And maybe that's just the theme of this podcast going on. Go out there and learn something new this week. I think that's actually, that sounds good, doesn't it? That sounds good. That's a great way to end things. So that's what we're going to do. We're starting ending the podcast every week with that challenge. Obviously that's subject to change because this is my podcast and I do what I want. But yeah, so also I was going to let everybody know, I'm finally nailing things down and going to hopefully have some more people on here too. It's what happens when you've got a jerry-rigged laptop and you don't know anything about technology. You don't know anything about book marketing. You don't know anything about doing podcasts, but you just do them until you fail enough that you get good at it. So anyways, I'm going to be having hopefully more guests on, so there'll be more of these. I think I'm going to still keep the Wednesday night thing kind of a live thing, and then maybe just toss up some other interviews and stuff that I get to do with people whenever I get the chance to do those with people instead of just trying to pigeonhole it all into a Wednesday night thing. So look for some of those here in the coming weeks as I get the opportunity to do that as well. So that's basically it for this week. As always, as I said, the podcast Going the Distance is brought to you by Going the Distance, my book available on Amazon. We actually talked about it a good bit tonight, so if you haven't read it, it comes up kind of in topic because there's a lot of things. It's not a running book. It's not a vasculitis book. It's a book for the person that likes to live life and might just want to chase their dreams one day. So I think everybody can learn something from some of the insane things that I've been through in my life. So that's what this is about. That's what the book's about. That's what my journey's about, is departing some of the crazy knowledge that I've got on you kids out there. As always, we're going to say now, go out there this week and learn something, and we'll be back next Wednesday at 8 p.m. See you then.